Hi friends, it's Olivia and Dexter, and today we thought we'd read you one of our favorite stories from Dr. Seuss. Today I'm going to be reading The Lorax. At the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing except old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood, just as long as he could before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax, and why was it there, and why was it lifted and taken somewhere? From the far end of town where the grickle grass grows, the old Onceler still lives there. Ask him, he knows. You won't see the Onceler, don't knock at his door. He stays at his lurkin on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkin under cold the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of muffled moof. And on special dank midnights in August he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you perhaps if you're willing to pay. On the end of the rope he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail and the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather snail. Then he pulls up the pail, makes most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. And then he hides what you've paid him away in his snub, his secret strange hole in his grubbless glove. Then he grunts, I will call you by whisper-ma-phone, for the secrets I tell you are for your ears alone. Slump! Down slumps the whisper-ma-phone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through a snargly hose, and it sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time back. Way back in the days when the grass was still green, and the pond was still wet, and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the swami swans rang out in space. One morning I came to this glorious place, and I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright-colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. From the rippleless pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. But those trees, those truffula trees, all my life I've been searching for such trees as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. In no time at all I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop, and with great skillful skill and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I knitted a thneed. The instant I'd finished, I heard a gazump. I looked. I saw something pop out of the stump. Of the tree I chopped down, it was sort of a man. Describe him? That's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oddish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Mister, he said, with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues, and I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset, and he shouted and puffed, What is that thing you've made out of my truffula tuft? Lorax, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. Look, I chopped just one tree. I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed. A thneed's a fine something that everyone needs. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat, but it has other uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains or covers for bicycle seats. The Lorax said, Sir, you're crazy with greed. There's no one on earth who would buy that fool thneed. But just that next minute, I proved he was wrong, for at that minute a chap came along, and he thought that a thneed I had knitted was great, and he happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor silly guy, you never can tell what some people will buy. I repeat, cried the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Be quiet, if you please. I rushed across the room, and in no time at all, I built a radio phone, and I put in a quick call. I called my brothers and uncles and aunts. I said, listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Oncer family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast, take the road to North Nitch, turn left at Weewalkin, sharp right at South Snitch. And in no time at all, the factory I built, the whole Oncer family was working full tilt. We were all knitting thneeds just as busy as bees to the sound of the chopping truffula trees. Then, oh baby, oh how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffula trees at one smacker. We were making thneeds 4 times as fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But the next week, he knocked at my new office door. He snapped, I am the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots, who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits, and happily lived eating barbaloot fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruits to go round. And my poor barbaloots are getting the crummies, because they have gas and no food in their tummies. They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, and he sent them away. I, the Onceler, felt sad as I watched them all go, but business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. I meant no harm, I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factories, biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, and biggered my loads. Of the thneeds I shipped now, I was shipping them forth, to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more thneeds. I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then again he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lawrence came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax. He coughed and whiffed. He sneezed and snuffled. He snarled and sniffed. Onceler, he cried with a cruffless croak. Onceler, you're making such smoggless smoke. My poor swami swams, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in his throat. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough, they cannot live here. I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape the smog you've smogged up around here. What's more, snapped the Lorax, his dander was up, let me say a few words about gluppity-glup. Your machinery chugs on all day and night without stop, making gluppity-glup and sloppity-slop. And what do you do with this leftover glue? I'll show you, you dirty old Onceler, you. You're glumping the pond where the hummingfish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary, in search of some water that isn't so smeary. And then I got mad, I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax, now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap, yap, and say bad, bad, bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering, turning more truffula cheese into needs, which everyone needs. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of the axe on a tree, and we heard the tree fall, the very last truffula tree of them all. No more trees, no more thneeds, no more work to be done. So in no time, my uncles and aunts, every one, all waved me goodbye, and they jumped into my cars and drove away under the smoke-smuggered stars. Now all that was left neath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance, and gave me a sad, backward, awkward glance, as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of this place, through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. All that the Lorax left here in this mess was a pile of rocks with one word, unless. Well, whatever that meant, I just couldn't guess. That was long, long ago, but each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away through the years while my buildings have fallen apart. I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to change. It's not. So, catch, calls the Onceler. He lets something fall. It's a truffula seed, the last one of them all. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds. And the truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula, treat it with care, give it clean water, feed it fresh air, grow a forest, protects it from axes that hack, and the Lorax and then all of his friends may come back. The end. How did the beginning of that story make you feel when all the truffula trees were getting chopped down? I was sad. But what happened at the end? What did the old Onceler give the Lorax? The very last truffula seed. What do you think the boy is going to do with the truffula seed? Plant it, grow some more, and maybe then it will look like this again with truffula trees growing everywhere. I hope you liked our story. Dexter liked it so much I think he fell asleep. Bye, friends. It was fun reading with you.